Hello. This is about Biden's gun policies and how not only will it affect America as a whole, but also the black community, because it will affect the black community. And we'll talk about some other things about, building a positive gun culture and what that would mean for us, and how important it is to do that if we're going to turn around, our, economic status and our current status just in general of poverty. So he's going to charge you for what they would call assault weapons. But these aren't assault weapons. Assault is something that you do. Like this weapon, these can be defense weapons. These can be like at the range weapons. This can be hunting. Because if you don't know that the AR-15 itself is 223 or 556, but then there's also AR-15 style weapons who have the same platform, but it comes in many different calibers, and that this is where you get hunters using it, and which is okay because it only takes one bullet to take it down. That's not for hunting. They don't need the 30-round clip for hunting, right? But it also doubles as a defense weapon as well. Say you're out there and there's a bear or something, like then you have extra rounds to take down the bear if need be, right? And people will be like, oh, you don't have to do that. Yeah, like sometimes you do. Sometimes it happens. And if you've ever been out there with a bolt action rifle and you got a bear charging at you, like you find out real quick that that's not a good situation. So let's watch the video and then we can go on from there.
Biden wants to enact legislation to ban the manufacture and sale of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. He also plans to include those weapons into the National Firearms Act in order to impose a $200 tax for each gun that someone possesses already. An analysis published by the Washington Free Beacon this week concluded that those actions would cost gun owners up to $34 billion. Nicholas Giordano, a professor of political science at Suffolk Community College, says Biden's proposal goes against the Constitution.
It's saying that a new tax will be applied to already previously purchased firearms. And to me, that violates Article 1, Section 9 of the United States Constitution, where the government cannot pass any ex post facto laws. They can't make something illegal today that wasn't illegal a few days ago.
Biden argues that the National Firearms Act has been in place since 1934. But the 1934 Act and its tax only apply to when a gun is manufactured, not to already possessed ones.
The reality is there'll be massive pushback against the Biden administration for trying to put in such an unconstitutional law. And once again, it would be the courts that would have to work it out. I do think that they would rule it unconstitutional.
He added this year's lockdown and violent riots in cities across the U.S. made people across the whole political spectrum realize how important gun ownership is. Reporting by Arian Pasdar, NTD News.
All right, so now you see he wants to make you pay for weapons you've already bought. So not just weapons that you're going to buy in the future, but what weapons you've already bought. And how they plan on doing that? I would assume they plan on using your smartphone, your social media. There's all kinds of ways, and the permissions they've gotten from like the COVID thing, especially COVID contact tracing, and the things they've expanded of looking at your search history. The FBI, the bill that allows the FBI to look at your search history without a warrant. All kinds of things. They have a vast network of ways they could actually figure out what guns you own or don't own based on a lot of data that they can collect online. So it's important. And how does this affect the black community? Now, see, the black community has a negative gun culture, right? Because most of the people, when they talk about blacks with guns, the image that comes to mind are thugs, right? And rightfully so, because that's what you see in the rap music. Like, the people killing blacks are blacks in the neighborhood are these thugs. These are it's thug brutality. Everyone likes to talk about police brutality. I know Black Lives Matter doesn't like to talk about the lives taken from thugs, but they love talking about the lives taken from police, and some police thugs. Some of them are, but a lot of the cases lately have been people who have actually drawn guns on police officers and then they got shot, or they pulled a knife on a police officer and then they got shot, right? And it's not just the police saying it, they get it on badge cam. Like, I don't care who you are, if you had a gun and someone draw a knife or a gun on you and you can take that shot, you'll take the shot. especially if like you know they're intent on killing you. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's not a good culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we have to build a positive gun culture. So like the average citizens that live in these black communities and in these hoods that are run by these thugs, like it's time to take your neighborhood back, because it's y'all that see everything that's going down, and I know that y'all see what's going down. Like you got to start working with the police to get these thugs, caught. I mean, it is what it is, and then also start training in gun safety. Like go buy an AR-15, get a handgun, take safety courses, learn gun safety to actually properly handle a gun, take shooting classes. And you can say, well, I ain't got money. Like a lot of times, it don't cost that much. And then like NRA and other groups like that, a lot of times they offer free classes. And really, some of y'all out there can get instructors. Like you can go to school and get your gun instructors license, right? And then you can start teaching in your neighborhoods the proper way to handle, to shoot. Take people out to the shooting range and teach that way. It'd be a great improvement, because the more armed citizens, law-abiding armed citizens that have guns, right, the better. So protect yourselves, because that's what it's for. An AR-15, like we'll see in this next video, she keeps calling them weapons of war. These aren't weapons of war. Like I've been in the military. The AR-15 is not an M4. You can't do a 3-round burst on an AR-15. It's a semi-automatic weapon. An M4 is an automatic weapon, and you gotta know the difference between these things. Like, the whole black militia leader dude, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, if you ever seen him talking about like the AR-15 and he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's how you know he's on the left. Like the thing about it is, know your guns. This is helping build a positive gun culture. Learn about the guns, right? And then, so that you know what you're talking about when you talk about these guns. And teach your kids gun safety as well. And my next video is going to be about the black family and how we need to keep that intact. We need to rebuild the black family, and so that there's a man in the house, and so that he provides for his family, and that marriage is a thing, and that raising your kids and instructing your kids. A lot of people right now are like upset that their kids are going to be going to e-learning, especially I'd assume if you're a single mother and you work, because now you have to find someone to watch your kids, whereas before, they would go to school and you go to work while they were at school. And that's the disadvantage, because now it's just you trying to raise them. That's why poverty affects single moms, why most single moms are poor. And there's a lot of single motherhood in the black community. So that's one of the things that contributes to poverty. But anyways, so and what I was saying is, your kids are home, and if you do have a family, it makes it a lot easier for you to homeschool your kids. But you should be teaching your kids at home. Even when they're in school, when they come home, they should have some homework for them to do, or on some of their days off, they should have some homework for them to do that gives them an education they can't get from school, that puts them ahead in their school and their classes, right? So that is important. That is a very important thing to do. You shouldn't be relying on these teachers at a public school to teach your kids what they need to know and pass on a culture. You need to pass on your own culture, right? And this hood culture is not the way to go. This hood culture is destroying us. It's keeping us poor. Like the thugs and stuff who are willing to kill everyone, or whoever they have to kill, or rob whoever they have to rob, they're making money, but not the average black person, right? We need to make our neighborhoods safer. You notice a lot of the white neighborhoods, they're safe. Like, what do? They call the police when they see something that's suspicious. I know that y'all get upset because white people call police on black people, but at the same time, like, it's the difference between white people calling the police is that black people in your hoods, you have people in a lot of black hoods. You have people who actually watch for cars they don't recognize when they come in, and then when they come in, they harass those cars anyways. So like you guys have, I mean, just like white people have Karens, like you got Shaniquas or something like that, whatever the equivalent is. Y'all got that same mentality. The only difference is that normally you harass the person who comes in, right? And then you get mad when white people do it. But it's the same thing, like especially if you live in Chicago or someplace like that where you have hoods and people don't stop at stop signs because they know what happens when you stop at stop signs. You get harassed or you're liable to get carjacked. Like, but let's continue. This is what another Biden pick. What she had said before when she worked for for Beto in I think Texas about mandatory gun buybacks.
We are now learning President-elect Joe Biden's incoming deputy chief of staff pushed for mandatory buybacks of assault weapons while working for Beto O'Rourke last year. Listen.
We are actually the only campaign with a plan, though since some other candidates have come out in support, but a plan that supports mandatory buybacks of weapons of war. An assault weapon ban is very, very important and we need to have it. But that only takes weapons of war off the streets in the future. It does nothing for weapons of war that are currently out there.
So now you see that now that the person he picked has a mandatory gun buyback. Also, was at the end, she talked about how it doesn't help for the guns that have already been bought, and she used weapons of war. We've already talked about this. It's not a weapon of war. It can be a weapon of defense. It can be a sporting rifle. It could just be for fun. Like, but it is important that you have an AR-15. It is important that you have access to weapons that put you on par with the police, or even with the like military. It gives you a fighting chance against any military, anything, because it's not for hunting. Like the Second Amendment is not for hunting. And this is the other thing: you have to learn your Constitution. If you learn the Constitution and the principles that the founders like stood for, I know that you've been told it's for racism and this and that. Like no. If you look at the actual ideas of what the country was based on, it's supposed to be, and that the rights that are protected, they're inalienable rights that no one can take from you, right? When you learn those things and you learn how to be a black American, because being an American isn't just being born here. Being American is an idea. It's holding these ideas. A lot of you guys do think you guys have been taught to be foreigners. You're foreigners living in a strange land, right? And you can say, oh, well, we was taken, yada, yada. No, your ancestors were Americans. A lot of them. They wanted, if you could take them from their time and put them in this time, they would succeed where you have failed. Because it's your mindset. You allowed these white liberals to give you this stereotype of what you're supposed to be, to give you this stereotype about what America is. That it's so racist. They try to dig up these old wounds and apply it to today. It doesn't apply to today. But you don't understand it because you don't know history that well. And they did bad stuff, yes. But if you know about our ancestors, and I don't mean like old. I'm talking about like after Jim Crow, after who were trying to become Americans and really did want equal rights. Like you have the rights that they want, and yet you fail and you waste them and squander them. If they seen you today and seen what you guys have become, they would be ashamed. And I'm not trying to doubt it. It's just the truth. Because when I read what they talk about, when I read what they say, and what they wanted, you have. And yet all you do is whine and blame other people. And I know it sounds harsh, but it's the truth. And a lot of you know that. One of the reasons that the black community is poor is that it complains and it blames everyone else, but it never does anything about it itself. So, and this site is called Black on Black Oppression. It's about stopping black on black oppression, right? Because that is the main contributor to black poverty right now. And it's the hood, and the hood culture that's what's holding black people back. But these woke elites, these Some of them are white, but they dress black. They get the black cut, right? Or they get the tan, and then they sit out here and they teach you woke politics, right? Well, a lot of them are getting paid by the white liberals. They're white liberal masters, or a lot of them are white liberals pretending. And what they're doing is they're trying to act like they're your voice, like they're trying to help you. But tell me how they're helping you with this wokeness, and how them making you hate someone else for their color is helping you. Last I checked, you're still poor, like, and you're not getting richer. You're still staying poor. The hoods still look like hoods. Niggas is still killing niggas. It's not changing. So maybe it's time to change it. We can, this next generation, we could right now, if we started working, we catch this next generation, we could change it within the next 15 years. We could be on track to becoming one of the most wealthy groups in America, Black Americans. We have the talent. It's not that Black Americans are dumb, because we're not. It's wasted. But you really see, and you're so involved with the government that you just keep waiting on the government to do something. That you complain about white people and say the government needs to do this, or we can't do this ourselves. The government needs to come in. Like, we can't get into the good schools by ourselves. We need affirmative action to get us in these good schools that we eventually most times flunk out of anyways, because we weren't ready for that school. A lot of these high schools are lowering their standards so they can graduate blacks. It's not helping you, because once you get out there, it doesn't help you in the world. Or they're teaching you in your class social justice stuff that it isn't going to help you in life. And that's why you're getting dumber, because they're taking more time teaching you stuff that's stupid, and all it is for them to be able to make you hate other people and to get their agenda through, and which is to destroy America. They're using you as a pawn. They're going to destroy America, and then when they're done using you as a pawn, they're going to destroy you. Well, they've already destroyed you. They're gonna leave you to the ruins, because what do you think is gonna happen when Asian America, when white America is destroyed? Like, you're in one of the best economies, kind of, that you could be in. That's a whole different story, but on the surface, it's the best economy that you can be on, right? Or have been under Trump, right? But you didn't take advantage of that. If you're doing bad in a decent economy, what are you going to do in a terrible? What are you going to do when we go from capitalism to socialism and everyone's poor? Like, wake up. We're running out of time. We are running out of time. And the nation, the republic, it all relies on you. You're limiting freedom, because one of the biggest arguments to take away the Second Amendment is thugs in the black community. And that's why most blacks are terrified of guns. What I mean is, like, they have a negative view of guns, because what they see of people with guns are thugs. And the ones that be shooting up houses, little girls get shot because they're playing on the sidewalk, and these thugs don't give a fuck. I'm gonna play this last video, which is probably in another video, but like this is a Facebook Live. It was in Chicago, and she was there's a pregnant woman driving, right? And there's a dude next to him and a baby in the back seat. I can tell you the dude next to her and the baby in the back seat don't make it, because someone pulls in front of her and they start shooting up the car. And the reason is because the nigga in the passenger seat is a gang member. He's affiliated with a gang. So it was a retaliatory, or it was a gang shooting. If we don't stop, there is no coming back. There'll be no prosperity for the black community, because it won't matter. Everyone will be poor. There'll be no upwards. It'll only be downwards from here. So let's build a positive gun culture, and then let's start actually pushing let's start a war on these thugs, and start getting them arrested, start getting them pushed out. Let's make being a thug not cool no more. Being a drug dealer not cool. let's put financial security. Let's start teaching our kids how to do finances. And if you don't know, like, there's lots of resources that are for free online. Like, if you want to start a business and get advice from CEOs and people who've been there, it's called SCORE, right? There's a bunch of sites of people who have free resources, and you can take advantage of these resources. Like, let's be great. Everyone's always talking about how we came from great civilizations. Like, we don't got to come from a great civilization. We can actually be a great civilization. We can actually be part of a great civilization. We can save America. And then white people will owe us for that. Because we are the missing puzzle piece. We are the piece that's being used right now to destroy America. If we turn it around, not only do we save America, but we save ourselves. And religion plays a big part in this, but that's a whole nother video. Because most blacks are not religious no more, so they don't value life. That every human being is made in God's image. When it comes to abortion, when it comes to homicide, those two areas is where religion shines, and yet we've lost it. And people say Christianity was, it's a slave religion. Like, no. Christianity hit Africa and blacks before it ever hit white people. So if you don't know the history of Christianity, then, like, you shouldn't be speaking on it. And I'm not talking about the Roman Empire. I'm talking about, like, in Jesus' time. And if you're talking about, like, before Jesus' time, like, talk about the Torah, the Bible in Jesus' time, or after Jesus' time, there was the Messianic Church and stuff. Like, learn. Because when you gave that up, you gave up greatness. When black people became less religious, like, that was one of the major declines. What allowed them to overcome when real racism and real institutional racism, like, it was at its all-time high and there was no getting around it. What allowed them to overcome was the gospel, was a faith in God. That's how they allowed them to overcome and forgive and keep moving on. And that's why they started making that. That's why they started doing good things, even though there was all these things in their path. Today, we don't really have anything in our path. The biggest thing in our path are these woke elites, right? And these white liberals, the Democratic Party, and that we've sworn allegiance to, right? And yet they're the ones that have, at every turn, they say the most racist, like, stuff, like voting IDs are illegal or racist because they hurt blacks because they're not smart enough to get an ID. Like, nigga, we all got IDs. Like, what are you talking about? And their argument for things that are racist normally goes like this. Like, this is racist because black people are too stupid to do this. It's a nice racism that they have with a smile. Like, those white people, the white liberals, like, those are the racists. The Republicans, they're honest with you. They tell you, oh, no, that's not going to save you. Like, you have to take responsibility for yourself. That's why they don't respect you, because you don't take responsibility for yourself. Once you start taking responsibility for yourself and your communities, and you stop killing each other, and stop rioting because of black lives that you don't actually care about because you kill more of them in your own neighborhoods than any cop across the all the cops across the nation. Like, I think Fort Wayne was on track to, I don't know if we did, but we set a record. We were on track to set a record, surpass our record for homicide, right? And a lot of those deaths were black deaths in the hood from niggas. So, shalom. I didn't mean to go on that rant, but it just kind of came out. But I want to see us do better. If you want to see us better, like and subscribe. Follow me. Comment. Talk about this stuff. I don't care if you share it on Facebook or whatever. Let's have a conversation, an honest conversation. I'm not here to just degrade people. Like, we need to look at this and actually turn around, and not the stupid stuff that people do when they get on these panels online, on TV, and they talk about it and No, I'm talking about, like, we need to start having conversations in our neighborhoods with each other about this stuff. And if you are a thug currently, like, stop it. Leave it. If you have to go get a regular job for a little while, but you're like, if you're selling drugs and you're making like, if you're selling drugs and you're making minimum wage, you might as well just got a regular job anyways, because you just wasting time and putting up risks for no reason. But if you're selling drugs and you're making a lot of money, like, you could use that same strategy you're doing with the drugs and use it for something legal, something else. I mean, and weed's going to be legal anyway, so eventually you'll be able to have your own weed dispensary and grow, you know, all that stuff. But since it's not, you could find something else and actually become an entrepreneur. If you can't and you don't know how to do it, then you're probably not smart enough. You need to, it's a lack of information, and you need to go get information, which information is free. But if you're making money anyways, you can go to college and get that information, but stay away from the social justice stuff. Like, going to, like, get accounting, get business management if that's what you're lacking, or just depending on what you want to do. Like, you need to go and stay away from the social, that's a trap. Stay away from the feminist stuff, that's a trap. It's going to make you stupid. It's going to waste your money, your precious money, because what you want is education. So pay for an education that will actually advance you in life, not something that's just going to make you hate other people and not go anywhere. Because when you get out, like, no one cares about your study, you know, African studies. Like, no one cares about that. Because really, that's like, when you're selling, like, if you're selling a drug, right, do you care about whether the person buying from you or someone who's going to help you has a major in African studies? Like, no, it's business, right? So you want someone who knows how to do business. It's the same concept in just the regular world. These companies aren't looking for someone who majored in feminist studies. No one gives a fuck. Like, if I'm a business owner, like, do you have skills, and are you going to help me make money, right? And the rest of the company, are you going to add to the rest of the company so that we can come up? But I digress. Shalom, and y'all have a good night.